Hi, welcome to Jadekind Gaming. My name is Adam. Today I am going to be unboxing, taking a look at a few Dungeon Master screens by Gale Force 9 for the 5th edition of Dungeons & Dragons. Specifically, I'm going to be looking at the DM screens that partnered with products that Wizards of the Coast put out in 2019. So they put out Ghosts of Saltmarsh in May of 2019, and then that was followed by Gale Force 9's Of Ships and the Sea DM screen, Baldur's Gate Descent to Avernus in September of 2019. It got its DM screen by Gale Force 9, and then in November 2019, the Eberron Rising from the Last War book came out, and eventually was followed by a DM screen as well. That's the only one that I actually have the book for, because the others are for adventures. And I have the couple, the original, and then the revised, or reincarnated, I believe, DM screens that Wizards themselves put out, and those are useful. But I now have a section on my wall where I can sort of display DM screens like art. And so I'm like, well, then I want to start collecting the other ones, even if they are for adventures or settings that I'm not using. And so I figured I'd just start with going back to last year. And the Eberron one actually took until into this year to actually be released, but I was like, well, we'll stick with based on when Wizards released their products, because Gale Force 9 is never good at predicting release dates. They were like, oh, it's going to come out the following couple of weeks after the book. I mean, the next month. I mean, several months later. But eventually it did come out. And so, yeah, we'll just start taking a look through them. Starting with Of Ships and the Sea. Which this is, I think, the only one that they had where they used a different name for the screen than the product that it's partnered with. Which I think might be a decent idea, as one of the issues that I've had people point out with these screens tends to be that, well, if you're not running the adventure, what's the point? But we'll take a look. As for me now, the point is also the art. So it's stuck together. Careful. Just gonna feel that, because that is concerning. But it seems to be fine. Okay, I think it'll be fine. Anyway, ooh, the colors on that are beautiful. So looking at the art side, which is definitely important for my display use, you have this beautiful piece of art. Someone diving down with giant coral and whales and sharks. Lovely. Then we have this, I'm not sure if it's supposed to be a kraken or like a Cthulhu-like beast or what, but it's attacking this ship as people row away, and the Sishroon, whatever the fish monsters are attacking their little rowboat as they're escaping their ship. And then on the far end, we get these mer people, some sort of royalty. Yeah. And I gotta say, it's beautiful. Though blue is my favorite color, so had a leg up on that one. But then, if you're actually wanting to use the screen, let's take a look at what you get for that. Random ships, so ship type, purpose, attitude, and then the races of based on the attitude. So if you get a friendly ship, it's more likely to be like a, full of player race characters, and plenty of hostile ships are things like frost giants or orcs or undead. And then you get ship name, adjective, noun. So the bold shark, or the furious saber, or the Sinful Flower. Sure. And crew member names, you know, All Salt, Gloomy Dog, Ugly Beast. So, you know, little rule tables, and they do, as normal, they have little bits of art on the DM's side as well. I do appreciate. Then ship disposition, diseased, emergency, help with purpose, mutiny, trading. So these are just basically some quick ship rule reminders. You get encounter charts for open water. Levels 1 to 4, 5 to 10, and 11 to 20. Which of course have the 1 giant shark, or, you know, 2d4 marrow, or 1 hydra. But then you also get, a rank 2 whirlpool connected to the elemental plane of water, or a mysterious island generated at random. So, there are things like that. Some more of the art. Hazards. You get a group check determines how the officers and crew fare against various hazards, hazard type, DC, and crash damage. Crew conflict, DC checks and results. Fire, same thing. Fog, infestation, and storm. Ending with Dragonherd art. So yeah, that's kind of see it all set out here. Yeah, so this one is largely making random ships and stuff about the ships, encounters in the water, and then hazards, you know, with your ship. It is, which I guess technically makes a good reason why they might have gone with ships in the sea. While I do believe the Ghosts of Saltmarsh is currently the only place for where all those ships and rules or stuff are located, which is why it's one of the adventures that I'm considering getting, even though I wouldn't run the adventure, it'd be nice to have the rules from the appendices in it. This seems to build largely on those. So yeah, I mean, ultimately, if you're using those ship rules, that's basically when this is useful. And even to some extent, if you're not using the full rules, you can get little bits of them here and pull them as needed. The encounter table is still useful for anything on open water. But then there are, you know, of course, issues of, well, once I'm past level 4, I don't really need that table to be taking up space. So, it is what it is. And it is beautiful on the front. And then now we'll go into the Descent, which takes us into hell. So, if I can get the plastic off here. This one. Is it going to have the same? Not quite as stuck together. Alright. And we'll, again, start with the art and explosions and fire and like a bone wall and looks like large demons and devils, and this side looks largely demonish mostly. I don't know. But yeah, explosions and just sort of this marching army here. You get the adventure name, Baldur's Gate, Descent into Avernus, and you get sort of this middle section, just explosions and booming, and then you got weird things in the background like tower rocks and rocks that are being strung up and such. And then you get this other opposing sort of army that I think this one looks more devil-like, and they're shooting the fires and the explosions, and it's all the Legion equipped looking devils. But yeah, so sort of battle between the demons and devils. there. And then on the back, we get 9 hells, okay? Just some things I'm like, ooh, I've ran recent adventure that some of this would be useful, although I rejected some of their ideas for the hells, but I took others. Yeah, so the 9 hells, you get the layers, the lords, previous rulers are listed, primary inhabitants, ooh, that could have been nice. Infernal hierarchy, easy enough. Infernal contracts. Interesting. Yeah, that's something I'll know, but basically the idea of different types of infernal contracts. There are 99 devil names. I'm like, oh, that could have been useful rather than just what I managed to make up on my own on the spot. And then you have their map of Avernus. With that. And then you get the war machines. They're, Mad Max style stuff, which each have their little image up here. And the rules, and these use the same base rules that the ships in Ghosts of Saltmarsh did. Although this DM screen actually has the actual listed stuff for each of the vehicles. Again, I'd have to have one of the books to have the rules for actually running them, but if you are running them, useful. Now, this is less useful in a general Hell campaign than some of the stuff on the other side has been. This is very much if you're running this adventure, because these are, I'm feeling like most Hell adventurers aren't going to use, vehicular stuff. But, they're cool concepts anyways. And then at the far end, we do get mishaps and chase complications, both, again, tied to the vehicles. Mishaps with the vehicle, like engine fire, locked steering, damaged axle, a flip, or complications during a chase, like you drive past a creature native to Avernus, and it chases after you. So something else has joined the chase. And little points, for rules on how to repair a mishap, visit page here. Yeah. So, that's Descent to Avernus. So, basically half of the contents are very useful if you're running the weird vehicle thing, whether in Hell or not, really. And then the other side is useful if you're just running a general Hell adventure, whether or not it's this one. And then the art on the front is a battle between demons and devils. And that takes us to the last of the DM screens for this video. And that's the one they released for Eberron, Rising from the Last War. Now this one, I actually got the book for, because it's not an adventure. It is a campaign setting. And it has, new races and stuff in it, and it just felt like, oh, even though I'm not, probably going to run in Eberron, still seemed worthwhile. It's meaningless, really, but these first two were very thin sheets of paper. This is like a bit of cardstock. This has some heft to it. It's just the label, but it's still, noticeably different. And this one is not stuck together at all. So, starting with the art, you get some of the dinosaur riders. Alright. Seeming almost to be herding dinosaurs. And it's not like there's an even cut along the seam. You can kind of see where the art, leads from this onto that. And you have this sort of middle section here where the name is going to be. And there's this, I'm not sure if it's not really a full airship. It's one of the sky skiffs or whatever. And you got this battle going on with it. Where you got, your adventurers, your Warforged here, and they're being set upon by a bunch of gnolls from the looks of it. I forget where those shifters. Yeah, so very nice, very nice. And they're on these. I forget what these are, but that was like the skateboard, like flying thing. And then I love this art in the book. I love it here. It's sort of like the train station, and with their weird arcing electricity trains, and sort of people disembarking. So this one is center section and 2 outer sections again, so it's not one long piece of art, but still. Immediately you get some of the races here. Which makes sense here because you get common names for changelings, shifters, goblinoids, Kalishtar, and Warforged. Very nice. So just, these are new races and cultures that you're not familiar with. Let's just give you some names for them. Languages, the main speakers within them. The list of months, which is very useful to have at hand if you're using a weird list of months, because it's not the easiest thing for people to wrap their mind around, so very nice. The dragon marks and their houses, which appears to list not only the name and have the symbol, but the name of the house, what races are part of it, who leads it, where the headquarters is, and what the guild specializes in. So all the information you need to actually make the dragon marks and the dragon marked houses important in your setting, because that's the kind of thing like you have to constantly reference, because there's quite a few of them and they all have their own special things. You get a little miniature map of the continent. Of course, the book itself came with like a fold-out map, but this might be nice, if you're not going to want to take up the whole table with it, for you to still have something quickly to reference as you need. Although it's very difficult. I'm sure it's impossible for you, but for me, even like looking here, it's very difficult to read many of the names just because of how tiny they are when they're printed there. Obviously, the main areas are easy to read, but all these are still labeled. They're just very hard to see and to read. And then on the final little panel here, we get deities of Eberron, the different faiths and their different deities related to it, as well as what their deity is over, and then what domains should be used, and then basic goods and services, communication and security, healing, travel, and mage-right casting fees. So things that basically here's things that you might be buying, and what it's going to cost you that are more unique to the setting. And so those were the 3 DM screens that Gale Force 9 has put out that are related to products that Wizards put out in 2019. Again, I got them largely for the art on the front, and that I kind of knew what it was going to be, so that's nice. The insides aren't, I've heard some horror things about the Gale Force 9 screens compared to, the couple that Wizards put out, but like the season, the ones for Ghosts of Saltmarsh, useful in general if you're doing any sort of seafaring campaign. Avernus is either useful, half of it in just any general hell campaign, the other half if you're using the Mad Max style vehicles. This one I think would genuinely be useful if you're actually trying to run a game in Eberron. The map is very tiny, but it's still enough of a reference to jog your memory if you've been working with it a whole bunch. The dragon marked houses are something that, they're supposed to be a big part of the setting, but you gotta kind of work for that to be the case. Extra things to buy that you're not used to. The religions, the months, if you want to make that part of your work. So it has some genuine things that can be useful for it. But for me, I'm like, I'm happy to have new art to put on the wall, because I got a shelf that sits behind where I game with my buddies, and I like a section of it where I'm like, I can put a DM screen here as art. So I'm like, yeah, so now it makes sense to start collecting all the other ones so I have variety. But I will link down below where you can find these online and pick them up. At the time I'm recording this, at least the Eberron one is still in my friendly local gaming store, although some of the others are starting to disappear as they're already getting a little older. Still find them online though. And of course, like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff here on YouTube. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Bye.